Hello. Hey, Eva. Hey, Tim. I was just thinking this morning, it's so great to have all these people. Good morning, Bobby. That listening to people saying that they set their alarms on the West Coast to make sure, because I know 6 a.m. is pretty early, even though I'm usually up every morning by between 4 and 5. Hey, Lee. Hey, Lori. Storm. Good to see everybody. Got a lot of stuff to share this morning. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Here's Coco. For those that don't know, my name is Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We are an international educational center where we teaching you about living, loving, and working with animals using applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement. And we do that through our live streams, through our memberships, our programs, and right here, Coffee with Critters, where we are live with you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, except for maybe next week. Once in a while, we try to mix it up, and we'll throw in a Cocktails with the Critters. That may be an option next week. I don't know. So for those of you that do know, I will be leaving for Key West this week, and I am taking Coffee with the Critters on the road with me to head down to see Nancy Forrester at Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden. Good morning, Melissa. There's one of our newest members. And hey, there's Nancy. I will be visiting her. Key West is ready for you. I tell you what, Key West is in my blood. It is in my blood. A lot of different people asked me about it, and I was just like, it's the spirit of the people. You know, I'm taking my sister down with me this week. It'll be her first time there. She doesn't know what to expect, and I said, don't expect a thing. We're not planning a thing. Don't expect a thing. The thing I love about Key West is the spirit of the people. Good morning, everybody. So just something a little funny to get started this morning. My husband, every morning when I come out here, my husband's a character. He's always like, you getting ready to head out and do crispy critters? And I was like, well, close enough. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Let me get this off of here, and we're going to start with our volunteer spotlight, which I've been doing every morning. Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, Cindy. There's our website for anybody that wants to know how they can find out more information about what we do and how we do it. You can always reach me and find me, email me personally, and I check all of my emails individually. And good morning, Carrie. Good morning, Rhonda. Hello, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started. I know we've asked people what they want to see. They want to see more of the things the volunteers are doing, and what we do in our memberships and projects as well is we go live showing detailed training on how I help coach and guide the volunteers here. Our volunteers have been here for a long time. They're very dedicated. They give a lot of time to the center, to the care of the animals. So we like to give it back to them by showing the work we're doing. And yes, good morning. Hey, Pat, good to see you. Nancy, that's what my husband calls it, is crispy critters. So let's go ahead and get started with the volunteer spotlight. And don't forget, I have the opportunity to bring you on live with me for anybody that wants to come on live and maybe ask a question. Sitting here with my co-host, Rico, who I have to be very careful with this morning. And we're out here with Quincy, who's ready to rock and roll. But let's go ahead and get started on the spotlight, the volunteer spotlight. So I'm going to start with Karen. How about that for your alarm clock for you on the West Coast? Good morning, Leanne. Hey, Daphne. I'm going to start with Karen, and I really want to show this photo because this is an amazing accomplishment that Karen has earned. And that is Karen Pratt, our manager here at the Animal Behavior Center, petting Rico, actually touching Rico through the cage bars. And Rico is our off-contact animal. We teach people how. You going to show us your somersaults? We want to see your somersaults. We show people how to train without having to touch the animal. And we do that with several of the animals here, but Rico is one of them. And this is Karen petting Rico. And that may not sound like a big deal, but it is here. If you get the opportunity to pet Rico, it's an amazing experience because it's one that you've worked for. I'm going to reinforce this behavior behind me. I'm paying special close attention to Rico today. There's a few times throughout the year where I cannot get in his cage, and it's nothing really specific to time of year. It's due to me. Hi. So this live stream can be very loud today, and I'm just trying to prevent it. Louder than usual. I wrote a blog post on this several years ago about Rico. Go! So anyways, here's Karen. So that is probably, that is huge kudos to her in the work she's doing there. So she's earned that. Eva says, it is true for Rico as it is for some parrots that if you, Lara, show that you trust someone highly, then Rico is more apt to trust them too. The way I look at that, Eva, is through shaping. Everything we do in life is all about shaping. And so it could be that Rico acts differently when I'm not in the room. So this is something Karen's been working on behind the scenes. And then when I come in the room, this could totally flip-flop. But what was happening is I'm the one taking that picture. And Karen knows to be extremely careful because behavior can change as soon as I walk in the room or somebody else walks in the room. So this is something we were just talking about in a live stream this week. It's easier to get an animal that doesn't like you to like you. It's really easy to get an animal that likes you to not like you, whatever you define like as. That's the easy part. The hard part is keeping that balance. That is something, and it's all, the volunteers can attest to this, it's all about balance around here. It's all about, is a certain animal getting overly bonded to you? Be careful with that because behavior issues will start to skyrocket. And so we all keep close focus on that. Another volunteer spotlight this week for those that you, let me get my, there. For those of you that follow in the Pig Project, know that in the past couple of weeks, we've been having some behavior concerns with Milo, our 4-year-old pig. And he started lunging at a couple different people, myself included. We immediately got a behavior modification plan in place. And my concern with pigs, there's several concerns with pigs. Pigs, the smarter the animal, the harder it is to keep in our care. Pigs are one. That's the reason we have the Pig Project. But anyways, Milo started lunging at Crystal, and we were afraid that it was going to start generalizing to other people, and it did. We immediately put a behavior modification plan in place, and it started off with reinforcing with food. But I told Crystal we're going to want to quickly gear towards adding in more reinforcers besides just food. Otherwise, this behavior issue can skyrocket. Next one, here is Lindsay in the cage changing toys around with Murray, our green wing macaw. People here only get in cages if they know what they're doing as far as training, because you can quickly untrain years of work. I'm being very careful with Rico this morning because he can quickly, I can tell by his behavior, he's going to be quick to lunge and bite. Yes, me. And then here's Angie earlier this week. We love Cholo, our roller pigeon, and I've even thought about we need to do a coffee with the critters out in the main part of the center with Cholo and some of the other animals. Cello is a very social bird, and he likes to be in the training room when everybody's making toys. I did a live stream this week in the Animal Behavior Center Support Network and I did it on counter conditioning. Here's the Animal Behavior Center Support Network. This is a group, a closed Facebook group for people that work with animals, whether that's in shelters, volunteering in shelters, veterinarians, vet staff. We have some veterinarians in there. Their staff, wildlife rehabilitation centers. I know I'm forgetting several. There's a lot of people in there from different zoos. That is specifically for people who work within this animal field and for volunteers. And then just a couple more slides. This week, this past Wednesday, February 21st, was the 5-year anniversary of the Animal Behavior Center. So we celebrated with cake and we passed it out to numerous different animals. There was Murray, and here's Snow, our deaf and blind border collie. And with that being said, we held a special contest for people to be able to enter to win a 1-year membership, level 1 membership to the Animal Behavior Center. We rarely give away memberships, and we decided to do that this week. And we will probably do that again for a 10-year. Pat says this is a wonderful program for support staff. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I just wanted to announce the winner because we did announce it yesterday. And I was messaging with her last night asking, do you care if I put your photo and your name on the Animal Behavior Center's, the Coffee with the Critters this morning? So I did. And here's the winner. Katie Sislow. She's from Wisconsin. She's a dog trainer. And I had several different people picked out to win this. And I was like, I cannot pick. So I asked for help yesterday. And it came back with Katie. Because Katie said she struggles. She's surrounded by compulsion-based trainers. And I said, you will not find that in the membership. So here you go. Congratulations. And you will no longer feel like you're alone out there. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and get started with our weekly Q&A. I have Quincy out here with me, so I know a lot of times in our Q&A, I take questions from you guys, and I take questions from you guys. I answer them, And then I usually try to do some training demonstrations to help you. So yay, Katie's getting a lot of congratulations. I wanted to give it away to so many people. So, but that's what I do. I tend to give a lot of things away. Let's go ahead and ask some questions. Anybody have any questions? If nobody has any questions, it's a beautiful day in this world, because that means everybody's doing great with their training. And what I was saying earlier about balance, it's so key. I'm trying to get Rico back on screen here, because if that animal can see, hear, smell, or feel us, we are training it, whether we realize it or not. That is one of the main reasons we have Snow, our deaf and blind puppy, here, because I wanted to show people you are still communicating with this animal. How are you communicating with it? How is Murray progressing? Awesome, Storm. Give me a second. So can you tell how I'm not usually my normal, loud, vibrant self? That's on purpose today, because I'm training Rico during this live stream. When I walked in here this morning, I have my sunglasses on my head, and I forgot that I had them on my head. I walked in here, and Rico flew to the side of the cage in a very aggressive manner. So what I'm trying to do is change that behavior. So Storm had asked, how is Murray progressing? Murray is our 14-year-old green wing that I could not pick up because I stopped training him for a couple of years. And I stopped training him because other volunteers here were training him and developing relationships with him. And there's an important story behind that, because I had paired myself several times with an aversive meaning something the animal doesn't like. I had paired myself several times because Murray is one of our birds that cannot fly. He never learned how to fly. And what would happen is he would wait for volunteers to get close enough to the side of the cage, and when they would, he would latch onto them and then go up on their shoulder. And if Murray's on your shoulder, he stands about this tall, and he's got a beak about that long. And I would get nervous, and I'd be like, I don't think he's going to bite you, but I don't know. So it caused me to have to go in and force him off of the people. And I always say, do I use positive punishment? I will, but very carefully. And only when all other options are not going to work. I will use a positive punisher if the alternative of not using it is worse. So I was forcing Murray off of people's shoulders, and he wanted to be on the shoulders. I could clearly tell he wanted to be there, but I wasn't sure it was a safe place for the people. And as much as I tried, we're going to start. That's why I said I think this is going to be a loud coffee with the critters today. Those few interactions, Murray would start working with, I was fine working with him by himself, but then there's a conditioned reinforcer in there. When it was me and somebody else, I would see the feathers come out. I would see all kinds of behaviors. I wasn't going to get close to Murray, due to those few pairings of having to force him off people's shoulders. As much as I tried to keep control over people not getting close to the sides of the cages. So then what I started doing 2 months ago is retraining, and I am now back to being able to pick Murray up. I'm going to cue up people. What you do a somersault? Yes, you. Do a somersault. Everybody on Coffee with the Critters wants to see. You do something? Let me see. So what I was just doing, attention is a reinforcer for Rico screaming. And he was down on the ground screaming. He turned and looked at me. And here's the key. It's all about timing right there. So I did not want to, I wanted to tell him to do something else, but would I actually be reinforcing the undesired behavior by asking him to do so at that time? So I'm going to take a question. Lee says, what is the best way to distract when you see a negative behavior? Lee, that's a fabulous question, because we were just talking about this week in the memberships. And in the live stream in the Animal Behavior Center Support Network on counter conditioning, meaning retraining, when you are trying to change a negative behavior, when the undesired behavior, not a negative behavior, an undesired behavior, when the undesired behavior happens, you've already lost the opportunity in that instance to change it. The key is being able to identify all those antecedents, all those cues that the animal gives. Good. Hang on. I'm training. My focus is going to be on him today. So when the undesired behavior, we were just talking about this week. Say, for example, a dog barking, excessively barking at the front door. You need to pay attention to all those cues of the undesired behavior before it even happens. So we were talking about, that's very pretty, Rock. The dog barks excessively at the front door when somebody pulls in the driveway. There are a bunch of body language that the animal gives before that happens, such as head comes up, ears may perk, dog stands up, dog runs towards the door. Those are all cues, and those are times to redirect behavior before the undesired behavior happens. Because once the undesired behavior already starts happening, you've lost your opportunity to change it. It doesn't mean, do I miss opportunities to change undesired behavior? Yes. That's right, Rock. But when I do, I learn from it. So I just missed that opportunity. What I do is pay attention to all the body language so I can better know where to begin the next time. Sorry, I'm just reading through your questions. Does that make sense? So in order to change an undesired behavior, you have to replace it with another behavior. I'm getting ready to go live in level 2, talking about a behavior modification plan I'm putting in place for myself. I've already got my behavior modification plan put in place. And I've got all my potential conditioned reinforcers lined up, my replacement behavior. When does the undesired behavior happen? When doesn't it happen? So, anyways, I've got some. Let me give you an example. We were just talking about this yesterday, I think in a Q&A in level 1 membership. Let me give you an example. And another key to changing an undesired behavior is find out what your replacement behavior is going to be and start training it now. Train it now before the undesired behavior happens. What do you think, Rock? Hang on. So say we're working with a dog that likes to rush out the door. And we do work with dogs that likes to rush outdoors. Hi. Okay. There's my door. There's my dog. Okay. So what are all the cues to the undesired behavior? Say I want my dog to sit right here and stay. Thank you. She's like, you said sit. Say I want my dog to sit and stay right here while I walk out the door. I'm going to let the undesired behavior happen, okay? So there's my undesired behavior, right? What are all those cues? What are all those cues that I'm giving the dog? The dog, say the dog was running and rushing out the door, starts knocking people over. All of those cues are just this. Good. Yes, Julie, and you're in the membership. Walking to the door. That's not the only thing. Say, got my keys right here. That's on purpose. So that's a condition to reinforce it. QUI and CY is well trained. Good. So your cue could just be the jingling of the keys, the turn and walking towards the door. Here's a big one, the placement of the hand on the door, because this is a conditioned reinforcer. When does this happen? This happens usually at no other time but when you're getting ready to walk out the door. Good. Yep, Adrian looking at the door. Hey, Leah. Another big one is this. The sound. Okay, there's bells on this door. So that's so we can tell when snow, our deaf and blind dog wants to go outside. Good. Another one is just opening the door. That's a cue. When else does the door open but when you're getting ready to go outside? Good. Does that make sense? So if I was working on Quincy rushing at the door, which I have in the past, if I was, nice job. I'm going to give her a bigger reinforcer. Nice job. Nice job. Thank you. Thank you. So if this was an issue, I would start working on that. Not when somebody's at the front door. I'm going to make small training sessions. Really? Who told you that? I'm going to make really small training sessions. 30 seconds to 2 minutes, I'm training. And I'm going to train all that behavior. We did this yesterday, last night actually, in the pig project where I trained Milo to shut the door. Because here, a lot of times when I'm by myself, I am carrying or holding or having 1, 2 to 3 animals at a time to try to shift and move animals. Shifting and moving animals. So a lot of times I leave the door open behind me. And one of the problems we have, it's not a big problem or I would stop leaving the door open, is Cello, our roller pigeon, walks into whatever room behind us. And we end up having a pigeon hanging out here in the animal room with us. So this way I was like, why don't I just train one of my animals to help me? So say I'm walking out of here with 2 birds, which I've done, and Milo's with me. What I can do is tell Milo we started putting it on cue last night. The cue is, Milo, will you shut the door? And he started doing it. He goes over and boom, shuts the door. So it's all shaping. It's all shaping, and it's all about timing, reinforcement, rates of reinforcement. Okay, so and I choose to do a lot of the work that I do here with exotics, even though we don't have just exotics here. We do have a couple of domestics, but the domestics that we have, -2, we will do a lot of work with our deaf bulldog and our deaf and blind puppy, and that is on purpose. Okay, I'm going to take this question from Carrie. Our border collie was with a trainer for a month. Soon after we got her, she goes ballistic when she hears the doorbell or knock of the door. Carrie, is that something why she went to the trainer? What she went to the trainer for? Is that something you're currently working on? Has that behavior been changed? So a lot of times when I'm working on like a sound, I recently went on a consult where a dog would go sent over threshold, overstimulated when the sound of a doorbell rings. You know, something I do when I'm working with sounds is, especially with the sound of a doorbell, Carrie, I get an app on my phone that is sounds, different sounds. You can come up with animal sounds, car honking, car driving, doorbell, stuff like that. And then I start shaping. I turn that app on and I start where I can reinforce desired behavior with the sound of a doorbell at a level 1 versus a level 10. And then I just start shaping it. But here's B.F. Skinner says you must never reinforce an undesired behavior. That is probably one of my favorite quotes, because I always laugh when I hear it or read it, because I'm like, good luck with that. Because you hear me say often, once you learn 2 + 2 = 4, you don't forget it, okay? So once an animal, and I like to use the word undesired and desired behaviors versus negative and positive behaviors, because it may be, it's true with undesired too. What's a negative behavior? I'm not sure what a negative behavior is. What's an undesired behavior? An undesired behavior is one that is undesired by me, or is it undesired by the animal? Because if the undesired behavior serves a purpose for the animal, it's probably going to continue to happen. And here's the thing. Once an animal learns an undesired behavior for me, brings a desired consequence from them, they tend not to forget it. And this is what our live stream on this week was on counter conditioning. Depending on how long that undesired behavior happens, or has a history of happening, the longer it happens, usually the longer it's going to take you to change it. And the longer it happens, once you do change it, now you're going to have to keep it on a maintenance plan, more than likely. We have several of those here, several with ROCKY. I'm not saying his name because he's quiet right now. And we have several here with several different animals. So now it's all about keeping it on a maintenance plan. So let me take a look at some of the questions. Wow, Lori, I was trying to read yours, but it's really super long. Let me take Manna Richards. This is going to cover my face. Manna says we rescued an umbrella in December from a bad situation. She's good with my husband, but hates me. And that is so not uncommon, Nana. We've had to work with that here. I talk to her, feed and water her, give her her favorite foods. Nothing changes. I hate that she has to stay caged while he's at work, but if I let her out, she will attack me when she's out with him. Not uncommon. We work with that here with Rocky. When I first brought Rocky home, he was from a shelter. He was 8 years old and was going to be put to sleep for his undesired behaviors. When I first brought him home, this is, Manna, that is one of the situations where I'm talking about getting the umbrella cockatoo to like you will be easy. What's going to be tough is keeping that balance once you get to that point. It's all about balance, and we are so focused on that here, and I cannot put enough emphasis on that. I am going to go reinforce this behavior right here. So like I say, behavior is always happening. What behavior am I reinforcing? Does anybody know what I'm training right there? Coco! Probably not going to be able to sit down. Anybody want to take a guess at what? Quiet and calmness, that's one. Julie, you got it. On his perch, calmness and quiet. Several things I'm training there. Several things. And I was training 3 animals at once. Rico, Coco, and Quincy. I'm giving Quincy a job to do by following me. Coco is a very nesty umbrella cockatoo. He's the 28-plus-year-old cockatoo we brought home from a zoo. He's very nesty, so he's on the ground a lot. I saw him on the perch, so I want to reinforce. Good. I want to reinforce. Nice job. Being on the perch. This is one of the things we're working on here in the training room all week right now. Hi. So I'm training Quincy to follow me. But I'm reinforcing Quincy's behavior of following me with just attention, interaction with my hands. I'll increase that intensity. So now she's starting to bark. How do I know if it's good? How do I know if I'm reinforcing the behavior? So I'm reinforcing Coco when he's on the perch. I'm reinforcing his tone of voice when he was going Coco versus the scream he's doing right now. Hi. You will also hear me say, keep your animal used to change. Here's a key point in doing that. Coco! Keep your animal used to change. Why? Because I rarely polish my fingernails. Good. That is a luxury for me that I usually just don't have the time, and I'd rather spend that time with the animals instead, so I tend to never do that. Because I'm heading to Key West this week, I decided to polish my nails a nice coral, and the birds have not seen my nails polished since probably this time last year. So that's the key importance when I say keep your animals used to change. Come here. Come here. I'm reinforcing Quincy for just following me because I'm trying to give her a job to do, because animals love jobs. There's a talk I give. Hey, thanks, Deb. There's a talk I give saying work is not a four-letter word. I'm always trying to find ways to give my animals jobs to do. They'll thank you for it. So Melissa, hey Melissa, I've been chatting with Melissa this week. Maybe I'll see you at Domo tonight. I don't know. Was your bridge with Coco repeating his desired words? Okay. Is it my bridge or the behavior of Melissa? And I was thinking about that when I was going back and reinforcing him, because there were sometimes a word did not come out of my mouth. A bridge is a sound or signal that tells the animal that's the particular behavior that's earning you the reinforcer that's getting ready to come as soon as I can get it to you. It's called a bridge because it bridges that gap between when the behavior happened and when the reinforcer is delivered. That's the bridge. The behavior I was looking for were several. Staying on your perch, saying the word Coco, saying anything in a tone of voice that doesn't sound like a scream, and a cup, Coco! Let's see if he keeps doing it. So there was one time where, good. Coco's looking at my fingernails. There was one time I didn't say anything. Good. There was one time I didn't say anything, but my bridge was still there. Did anybody see it? So the behavior I was looking for was several, but one of them was the tone that he said his own name, Coco. So I don't know if you can see, but he has that abnormal repetitive behavior that he came to us with. When I see that, I see anxiety, and I see frustration. A lot of abnormal repetitive behaviors are paired with anxiety and frustration. I want to get that to go away. So Melissa says, yes, I just didn't hear good. Was wondering if you didn't need the bridge or you use repeating as the bridge, sort of. Great questions, Melissa, because, yeah, kind of all the above. This was my bridge. So a bridge is a sound or a signal, You can be going like this. This is what I tell people, keep your hand out of your treat bag, because if you're asking a behavior and your hand starts to go into the treat bag in anticipation of getting the desired behavior, this movement of your hand now turns into the bridge, and you'll see your animal stop short of the behavior you're requesting. So my bridge was, I want to show you, but I can't because he's doing the abnormal repetitive behavior. This was my bridge. I'll just do it over here. Let's say this is Coco. Okay? So I'm reinforcing like this. I turned around and started walking back, and he said, Coco, and as soon as he did, I just went like this. That was my bridge. A lot of times when I'm training by myself, I will drop a lot of my verbal cues, my verbal bridges, and all my bridges and cues are just my body language. So it was just that when I got to this point, he said, Coco, this was my bridge. Okay? And I will continue to reuse it if I see it work. If I see it not working, I will stop using that. I do like to keep animals used to a verbal cue and an audible bridge, because a lot of times I'm training that animal when that animal isn't even looking at me. For example, maybe that example won't come. If an animal is flying or running away from me and there's a behavior I'm requesting as their eyes are not on me, I need that. You guys said you liked it with the live streams out here in the animal room, so I'm here because this is where you like it to be. Okay, so let me give an example. If I'm asking Cello to fly to me, this is my cue. That's my cue, because I don't do this at any other time. You are so fabulous. Quincy is just sitting here staring at me, aren't you? I don't do that at any other time, but when I want an animal to fly to me. So that is my cue. That is my condition reinforcer. This is always paired with the request of flying to me. Okay, so I ask a bird to fly to me. That's my cue. There's nothing coming out of my mouth. It's just this. When I ask an animal to fly away from me, my cue is this. I open the animal up so the animal's sitting like this on me. So when I open that hand up, the animal is now facing away from me. I'm asking it to fly to a perch. It flies to a perch. Its eyes are not looking at me. It's flying this way. And as soon as those feet hit that perch, I then say, good, because it can't hear me turn around or reach for my treat. But that's why I like to keep my usual bridge. My most common bridge is just the word G-O-O-D. Yeah, be careful, because I didn't ask for that bark. If I didn't ask for that bark, I'm definitely not going to reinforce it. And I can reinforce this just by eye contact. Of me looking at her when she barks. It's what she's barking for. She wants to be trained. That's why she's barking. Good. She wants to be trained. And I appreciate that. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah, a bridge could just be getting up and moving towards them. Absolutely. So that's why I tell people, let me do a couple of exercises on bridging. We do bridging exercises here all the time. And if your bridge is off, you're going to confuse your animal. Let's see. So this is one of the things I do. Quick some touch. Good. If I am, let me get mine. Sit. Good. So when is my GOOD coming out of my mouth? When her butt hits the floor. That's a target. Stay. Good. Stay. Touch. Good. So, but I am noticing my hand is right here. I even want to be careful with that because she is constantly paying attention to my hands. Stay. Touch. Good. If I feel, and I do this, sometimes I start going like this. See, you see her head? She's watching that treat pouch in anticipation of when the hand comes out. So if I have a problem with always wanting to reach for the treat, this is what I do. Good. This is what I do. I find my treat hand. Say my treat hand is my right hand. I find my treat hand. Touch. Good. See what I did there? Touch. Good. Did you see what I did with my treat hand there? Stay. Touch. Good. Stay. Touch. Good. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. Okay. So I do have to focus on that because absolutely behind my back. So if I'm having a problem, and sometimes I do because I'm not paying attention. Coco. Good. Trying to get back to the computer so I can show you guys. Melissa, this is where the audible bridge comes in really handy. This is where a bridge. This is the importance of the bridge. Good. I'm also being very careful because Coco will bite in a heartbeat. He's fast. And I'm training him with my nail polish. His eyes are on my nail polish. So Adrian says, I like using touch instead of come here. I think I'll train that with my pet. And when I train, hang on, let me show you another example. Yeah. I'm going to be careful with this. This is my target stick for the giraffe. Okay. When I am training a recall, asking the animal to come to me, I'm going to be very careful with this because Coco will start screaming if he sees long sticks that he was not trained. I'm just going to put this away for the sake of your ears. What I will do is get the training stick out, the target stick that Coco has been trained with. The reason I like these target sticks is because they're acrylic and you can wipe them off. You can sanitize them because we try to use red ones just for birds, blue ones for mammals. But let me show you. We're always target training. Okay. What am I going to train? I want nose to stick instead of nose to hand. Quincy knows this. Touch. Good. Sorry. Touch. Good. Sorry. Coco came to us not necessarily afraid of sticks. Coco! But afraid of hands on sticks. So we've shaped that. We've shaped that behavior. I'm keeping the training stick hopefully in my pocket and out of sight. But yeah. So I'm ready to start training. If I'm not clear with my bridge, I'll see my behavior start to fall apart. So I'm using a couple different bridges right now, and I mean it's working because I'm seeing the behavior maintain or increase. But what I wanted to show you was specifically for Adrian with her pups. When I train a recall, a lot of times, like this is what I did with the giraffe. Let's pretend my Rottweiler is my giraffe, or is a giraffe, because I don't have one. It's my target stick. Touch. Good. Okay. This is what I did with recall training the giraffe. This is how I trained the giraffe to come when called. Okay? I'm going to take my giraffe to the back. So I train the target right here. Stay. Touch. Good. So, I trained the giraffe to recall, and then I just fade out the target. Makes sense? Yeah, so when I get back from Key West, and what is happening is Coco is seeing this stick. This is a stick he was once afraid of, that now he's seeing it. This is a conditioned reinforcer. This is why my target sticks always go bye-bye when I'm not using them, because it makes the contingency, if this, then that, really strong once they do see them. I'm teasing Coco. He's calling me to the cage because he sees his target stick. He knows this is his target stick. And I'm sitting there teasing him with showing it in front of him. So a couple of things. I want to say real quick is don't forget, I know Deb Jones is on here. If you guys are interested in stuff like this, conditioning, counter conditioning, classical conditioning, operant conditioning, Deb and I have a workshop coming up the second weekend in October. This is a one-of-a-kind workshop because I told Deb, I was like, Deb and I work so well together. And I'm like, what? Why are we not doing something together? So we have a 2-day workshop where it's going to be very interactive. It's all species. It's called All Species Training and Behavior Workshop. And it's going to be presented here at the Animal Behavior Center for 2 days, the second weekend in October, given by myself and Deb Jones. So you're bringing 2 different people with 2 histories of training together. I love training with Deb. We also have coming up the first weekend in May, our first ever 2.5-day enrichment workshop, all species animal enrichment workshop. It is hands-on. The seats have already started selling, and seating is very limited. So that weekend's going to be full of a lot of breakout sessions. You guys are going to be going around doing different things with the volunteers here. And then I will give a presentation twice each day on different aspects of enrichment. Something else I wanted to say is join me next week. I will be live in Key West with the awesome Nancy Forrester. It is going to take everything I have not to cry when I see this dear, sweet woman doing fabulous work at Nancy's Secret Garden in Key West, Florida. So with that being said, thanks for joining for another episode of Coffee with the Critters. You can find out more about what we do, our live stream memberships and projects at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can always reach me. I answer these emails personally, every single one. And you can reach me at Lara at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. You guys, thank you for joining another episode. And I am so excited. I am so excited to be taking off this Wednesday. I'm taking off to Key West with my sister, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm taking you with me. And there's Nancy, sister tears. Yes, I'm taking you with me. Join me live next week for our next episode of Coffee with the Critters with Nancy Forrester. I'm not exactly sure we are going to be doing it Sunday morning at 9. I need to talk to Nancy, and I'm sure you'll see me going live several different times. Okay? All right. So, oops, you're very welcome. Until next week, guys, take care. Thank you. I'm out of here. Bye.